At a May 17th concert in Berlin, Roger Waters took the stage dressed as the rock star turned fascist character from the 1982 film based on Pink Floyd's iconic album, The Wall. And so here's Roger Waters dressed in character as part of the show. And so, this is sort of imitating, SS garb, although there are no actual swastika displays on the material. He's careful not to make it that literal. It is a satiric sort of representation of that time and of that sort of mindset and of that attitude. And so, Russell, you are a lifelong Pink Floyd fan. I'm a fan of their music very much, but I'm not as well versed in the history because I was not around for most of it. So do you want to explain in better detail what we're looking at here?
Okay, so the Wall album is a rock opera about a rock star named Pink Floyd. It's a semi-autobiographical opera about Roger Waters' own life, how the loss of his father fighting the Nazis in World War II impacted him, being kind of a lonely kid, being raised by his mother. And the character winds up having kind of a nervous breakdown in the album and becoming... seeing themselves as a fascist leader, seeing this connection between being a rock star and being having the power of a fascist autocrat. So we have Bob Geldof portrayed the character in the movie. So you could see this is something that's been around since 1980. Roger Waters has been doing this in concert since 1980. I saw this movie when I was 13, and it never occurred to me that this was meant to be taken as a statement of support for fascism. It was very clear to me as a 13-year-old that this was a statement against fascism, that it was illustrating the horrors of fascism, especially when so much of the album leading up to that is concerned with the horrors of World War II and the loss of the father fighting against Nazis in World War II. So you just have this brilliant iconography that was created by Gerald Scarfe, who was the longtime artist and animator for Pink Floyd and designer. Roger Waters actually went to school for architecture. That's a big part of why their stage sets are so elaborate and well conceived. He's always had a hand in that. But the crossed hammers in place of the swastika. I would put forth the song Run Like Hell on the Wall captures the terror and the horror of living under fascism as well as any piece of art that you will ever find. Now you have dishonest actors who do not like Roger Waters' politics trying to take this out of context and pretend that he's putting on some kind of pro-fascist show, which is just absolutely absurd. So I believe I have seen every single concert Roger Waters has done solo post Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd was actually before my time. They broke up right around the time that the Wall movie came out. But so I went to the last concert, which supposedly is really going to be his last concert. He's billing this as his farewell tour. And I believe him because he got into things about Syd Barrett, who, if any of you know the backstory, Syd Barrett was the original leader of the band, and he eventually kind of had a schizophrenic breakdown. And the ghost of Syd Barrett haunts a lot of their music, particularly Shine On You Crazy Diamond is written about him. So he talks a lot about his relationship with Syd Barrett in the show. I've never seen him even mention that. So, I think this is it. He's kind of saying goodbye. But I have some of the particularly political footage from the show that I think is getting him this backlash. They're hiding behind this Nazi metaphor, but this is really what's upsetting them.
If you're one of those, I love Pink Floyd, but I can't stand Roger's politics, people, you might do well to fuck off to the bar right now.
All right, so what is this?
All right, so this is they have a list of different people who have been killed by the state. And this is one of the things they very dishonestly used to attack him with, because he has Anne Frank and after that, the name of a Palestinian journalist. They're saying that's terrible to compare the genocide of 6 million people to a Palestinian journalist. Right there, when you're making that argument, you kind of lost the argument.
Right. I mean, it's as anti-racist and as anti-discriminatory a statement as you can be. It's literally appealing to the common humanity of Palestinians and Jews.
Well, and you can see this in this footage. I mean, it's what really struck me watching the concert is Roger Waters represents an older idea of what a rock star is and can be before it got hijacked by people like Elton John,
right? Or Bono,
Bono, turning it into, running around with Davos and, promoting Prada, right? I mean, they made that all one thing, You're never going to see a guy like Roger Waters at Fashion Week. It was really,
exactly.
It was really people, certain rock stars ingratiated themselves into that world and made this music non-threatening. And, they made it a brand. They made it just another consumer item. Roger Waters, I mean, watching this concert, he's really the last of his kind, or virtually the last of his kind. It's almost like going to watch a jazz concert at this point. It's so different from what's out there now. It's so grounded in an earlier sensibility of what the political responsibilities of someone in his position would be, and the kinds of stands and statements they would make. I mean, the Rolling Stones used to be dangerous, right? I mean, now it's nobody would take them that way. Pay them enough, they'll play for anybody, right? So it also strikes me, and I have some of the footage of him in the fascist segment.
Yeah, we'll get to that, but I want to. Yeah, we'll let it play in sequence, obviously, right?
Okay. All right.
So this is the sort of woke part of the show where he lists off all the various sort of groups of rights that are important, which we would all agree: indigenous rights. He puts reproductive rights on the screen. That got obviously a big applause. Trans rights are part of this scroll here, obviously. That comes up as part of this bit here, as you can see that scroll going through there. There it comes. Now this part, interesting. So if we listen to the applause for calling Donald Trump a war criminal is quite loud. And then my guess is because this was a New York City audience, that kind of died down once Joe Biden's face appeared. Let's
I don't know, actually. Let's see. Let's see what the evidence tells us.
Not much either way. Very interesting. Not much either way, but as you can see there, Trump dropped more drones than Obama, and then that switches to Joe Biden.
All right, so
so this is the imagery in question here in New York. So go ahead.
Yeah. So turn it up a bit. Okay, so basically the idea is Pink has been subsumed by this character, right? And now he goes through this whole thing. Basically, there's like a list of slurs of people in the audience who should be removed.
Right. So it's clearly, a performance piece, obviously. I mean, just very, very obviously.
Right. This is a statement. And again, all of this within the context of the album, Run Like Hell, all of this is kind of together. Which is just this terrifying vision of being chased down by fascists in the street, right? There's this terrifying, paranoid chorus of run, like you're being chased by this fascist gang, right? And then this is, well, now we're going to find out where you fans really stand. Do we have any queers in the audience tonight? Put them up against the wall. Right. Now, if you watch, and he goes on with, various ethnic slurs of people, okay, or do we have any of those kinds? Put them up against the wall. If you watch this, and you take that literally, you are a fucking idiot. But of course, they don't take it literally. It's an excuse. It's an excuse. They know damn well this man lost his father in World War II, has been doing this for over 40 years. And the statement of the entire show, you can see from what we spliced together here, is very anti-war, very anti-state violence from anybody, whether it's from Israelis, and that's really the issue here, whether it's from the United States, whether it's from China, whether it's from Russia, whether it's from anybody. There's a sequence I actually didn't include where he was talking about Russia's nuclear arms program, and along with the United States nuclear arms program. He's equal opportunity. He's not on anybody's side. He has always been a strong advocate for peace. Having been a fan of his for as long as I have, I can tell you back when Stallone was making all those red baiting movies, he would regularly call out Sylvester Stallone in his concerts all through the Rambo era. He was always bringing up Sylvester Stallone and what a terrible thing he was doing with this Cold War propaganda with his movies. So he's always been this person. He's never shown favor to anyone. He is against state power. He's against the violence of the state, no matter whose state we're talking about and in all of its forms. And clearly, if that's your position, you're going to be speaking out against the way what Israel does to the Palestinians.
Of course. But after the concert, it was announced that German police were investigating Roger Waters because they don't have the kind of speech laws that we have here on the books. And they are, of course, especially sensitive, for understandable reason, of course, about Nazi imagery and all that kind of stuff. And so according to a spokesperson for the German police, this was a quote they gave to the press: "We are investigating on suspicion of incitement to public hatred because the clothing worn on stage could be used to glorify or justify Nazi rule, thereby disturbing the public peace." Well, Germans are not known for their sense of humor nor their sense of irony. A couple of Jews like us know that as better than anybody could, I think. Yeah, I mean, that's just taking it to such an absurd level where you can't really even interpret this as a good faith, misguided interpretation of the performance. So, Russ, if you want to read this was a tweet that Roger Waters put out. This was a statement that he issued in response to that news. So here, I don't know if you can full screen that if you want to read that. It's a little small on my end.
Not only that, I will also mention over the past 40 years, I didn't look it up. I would bet my life that Roger Waters has done that bit in Germany. How many times has he gone on tour with this character?
Yeah, I mean,
he had to have performed this in Germany.
40 years?
40 years.
Yeah.
My recent performance in Berlin has attracted bad faith attacks from those who want to smear and silence me because they disagree with my political views and moral principles. The elements of my performance that have been questioned are quite clearly a statement in opposition to fascism, injustice, and bigotry in all its forms. Attempts to portray those elements as something else are disingenuous and politically motivated. The depiction of an unhinged fascist demagogue has been a feature of my shows since Pink Floyd's The Wall in 1980. I have spent my entire life speaking out against authoritarianism and oppression wherever I see it. When I was a child after the war, the name of Anne Frank was often spoken in our house. She became a permanent reminder of what happens when fascism is left unchecked. My parents fought the Nazis in World War II, with my father paying the ultimate price. Regardless of the consequences of the attacks against me, I will continue to condemn injustice and all those who perpetrate it. So at first, the Germans were not going to allow him to do the concert. A German court, which honestly surprised me a little bit, actually defended his right to perform that concert. He was performing in a venue that's sensitive. This venue in Hamburg actually goes back to the Nazi era, and 3,000 Jews were kept in that stadium before being transported to concentration camps. So in respect for that, And he actually said on stage, I know about Anne Frank, so he didn't wear the coat that night in that performance. But he still, from what I understand, he did that bit. He did that sequence.
Right.
I mean, if you're really against fascism, why would you not want him doing that show? Because I'm going to tell you, artists like Roger Waters, this is his farewell concert, right? They're passing from the stage, and there are no obvious successors to make such bold, clear, moral statements against this fascism that you're so terrified of.
Please clap.